Hi, are you here because you want to maximize your chances of not being part of the next layoff in your organization? Are you here because you hear the word layoff and you want to understand it a little bit more? Welcome. Today is the third, or this video is the third of a three-part series. The first one is what are layoffs and why do companies do them? And I'll put a link up so that you can go watch that video if you haven't seen it yet. The second one in this series was why you might be laid off. And this is the third video of this series. And this is all about the three things that you can do to maximize your chances of retaining your job or employment within the organization when layoffs in the organization do occur. If you've been enjoying this series or if this is your first time visiting, I would love if you could like this video and subscribe so that I can continue putting out useful business content that will help you show up at your best in the workplace and be or become a bold leader. So thank you so much for your time and energy today. All right, on to the three things that you can do so that you can maximize your chances of not being laid off. Tip number one is to disassociate yourself from your job or your role. So no matter what your job title is or what your role is or what your job description is, that is your job, that is not you. So repeat after me. Your job is a job, it is not you. Your job is a job, it is not you. Your job is a job, it is not you. And the reason that this is so important to understand is that a job is a list of activities that you do. It's a role that you play within an organization, but it is not your brand, it is not your identity, it is not your values, and it is not your skill sets. All of those are separate. All of those are things that you bring into that job so that you can do that job well. And if you are able to disassociate your job or your role from who you are as an individual in the organization, number one, if your job or your role goes away, you don't feel like you have lost your value and your contribution out into the world or into an organization. The job itself is something that the company no longer needs. And so if you can disconnect and disassociate those two things, you'll begin some internal work that's really important when it comes to the next two things. And I guess I would say this. Doing that isn't something where today you repeat that phrase a few times and then tomorrow you're totally fine. This is something that happens because you're thoughtfully thinking about it and you're practicing that disassociation every single day. That doesn't mean that you do a lower quality of job. Actually, I think it'll raise your quality of work that you produce, because it'll now no longer be you going by kind of a mental checklist of that original job description you saw when you took on the role, or it won't be the list of things that you actually do now that you've been in the job for some period of time. Those things are things that you do, that is not who you be. All right, so item number two is define how you want to show up and then show up that way every single day. I cannot underscore how important this is. If you have not defined how you want to show up in the workplace, how you want to be seen, how you want others to interact with you, to communicate, to talk with you, to respect you, how you show up as an individual person that's unique to you in the workplace. I don't mean weird unique. I mean unique in terms of your individuality and your fearlessness in owning that individuality. If you show up that way at work every single day, you will become a very consistent person in terms of embodying your own identity. And that combined with disassociating the first step, that combined with disassociating yourself from your job or your role will have people start to connect with you for who you are and what you're capable of bringing to the table rather than the discrete things that you do on a day-to-day basis. So let's be a little bit more concrete and practical about why we want to do this. We want everyone to see us as an individual and as a person. One of the most important things we can do for ourselves, or one of the things that we strive for as humans, is to be seen. And so in order to be seen, instead of your job being seen and that you're the person performing it, is for you to be seen. And so you need to define what identity you want to have at work. And this identity should not be something that you're one way at work and somebody else completely outside of work or with your family or with your friends. Think about kind of your overall brand as a person, as an individual on this earth, and think about what are the key characteristics that are true to you, and make sure that you're bringing those into the workplace. So if integrity is really, really important to you, or if bridging the gap between groups and bringing people together for collaboration is really, really important to you, that's some of how others would start to, you have to see yourself that way, and you have to identify that bucket of 4 or 5 things. And then you have to make sure that in every interaction that you have with anybody else, or in the work that you do, or the outputs you produce, or how you communicate by email, or how you show up in a meeting, or what happens if you go grab drinks after work, or you take somebody out to lunch, or they take you out to lunch, who pays the bill, or any of those small things. You want to make sure that you stay true to that identity, because your consistency to that identity that you create based on your values will have everybody knowing you in that same consistent way. And they will begin to see that as who you are, and they will begin to see what's possible for you to do in the workplace, rather than that's Bob or that's Jenny that does that job. Because if that job goes away, then so does the value of Bob or Jenny. Whereas if you bring your own self into the equation, then it becomes, oh, Jenny or Bob that just happens to do that job over there, but we love what they're bringing to the table. So even though that job is going away, what else could Jenny or Bob do? Because look at all they bring to this organization in terms of who they are and how they show up. Make sense? All right, if you're with me now, we're on the 3rd step, and I think of the 3 things together as a trifecta. They are so simple, and I'm sure once I'm saying them out loud, you're like, yeah, I knew that. It's a matter of practicing them consistently and together on an every single day basis as you show up. Okay? All right. Tip number 3, be known for something that you are so good at. And you can be known for more than one thing. Okay? You can be known for more than one thing, but be so good at something that something should be transferable from one role or job to another role or job. And this should be irregardless of if you're an individual contributor, or you're a manager, or you're very senior in the organization, you're very junior in the organization. What is the thing that you are known for? So I'll give you an example. I had somebody on my team in the past who was great at PowerPoints. But you see, the thing is, she was known for being great at PowerPoints, but what she was actually known for was taking very complex things and simplifying them down into 1 or 2 slides, so that everybody looking at those 1 or 2 slides could understand and digest complex strategic topics. And because she had that skill, it made her incredibly valuable. And that skill was not necessarily tied to the role. Yes, it helped her in that role. Yes, it was something that I was looking for when I hired her into that role. But the thing is, that skill in and of itself had people from different departments coming to her directly, or coming to me as her direct line manager, saying, hey, can we borrow her? We just want her to look over this, or put an eye on that, or could she come and talk about this, or could she help us clean this up, or could I get her opinion on this? She became so well known for that we had people from different countries, different departments, and different levels of seniority all reaching out and wanting to get to know her. And she extended her network incredibly wide, and she was incredibly well known for that. Did she have other skills that she brought to the table? Yes. I'm just highlighting one to give you an example, because what she did inside the first 8 months that she was in the organization and that she reported to me was really incredible. And so she fostered through that. By using that, she connected with so many different people, and her reputational credibility, that second item we were talking about, became really important. And sometimes I would come across people that did not actually know what department she was in, that she reported to me, what job she did, what her job description was. They kind of didn't care. What they did care about was how consistent she was, and the reputation that she had built up in the organization. And it did not matter that she was an individual contributor. That is, well, I'm getting off topic here, but that is leadership, right? When you bring something so powerful to the table, and I promise you, it's an organization that I worked for in the past, and if they were to do a layoff, I would bet that she would never be on a list to be laid off. They would always, always, always find a role or a job that was a fit for her skill set. Even if she didn't have or wasn't able to check off all of the boxes of that role at the moment that that role was open and the role that she was currently in was going away. And here's why I say that. Because you do not need all of the skills of a job in order to get that job. So you only need to show up with the right character and the right attitude and the right kind of reputation and the other intangibles that are so hard for so many people to grasp to be kind of eligible for those other roles. Make sense? All right. So just to summarize, 1, separate yourself from your job or your role. You are not your job. You are not your role. This is super, super critical because as long as you are connected to that role, the energy that you are putting out to everybody in the organization is you are that role and that is what you can do. I think I'll do a separate video on this is why some people never get promoted, even if they're great at their jobs. You can be magnificent at your job and never get promoted and be left wondering why. It is because you and that role are so glued together in everyone else's mind because you are glued to that role in your mind. So disassociate from your role. 2nd, build a reputation and a brand for yourself that is based on things that are part of your inner and core values so that you have a reputation and a brand and are known for exactly that, and you show up that way in a consistent way every single day. And number 3, become known for a very specific single thing. You can be known for more than one thing, but just focus on one thing. And this one thing will become so striking and associated with you and other people's minds that you will see doors open that you never thought possible, because now it's no longer about the job and the role that you have today, and it's about what's possible. And these are the 3 ways and things that you can do to protect yourself from being laid off the next time your company has a layoff. Now, I said they're simple, but they are simple. They're also hard to do every single day. They're especially hard to do if you are not true to who you are. So you have to be true to who you are when you're thinking about your brand and your identity and how you're going to show up consistently every day. These things have to be true to you, and you have to work on it every single day. If there is an announcement of a layoff in your company next week, 1 week isn't enough of a runway for you to change everybody's minds, but you would be surprised if you practice these 3 things internally, day in and day out. You will put so much energy out there into the organization about who you are and how you show up and how you behave and how you interact and your role and you are not the same thing, that when the time comes, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 6 months down the road, you will now see the impact of that. All right, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, comment. I would love to know, actually, if you're still around, what would you like to see next? What else would you like to learn about? I've got 25 years in the business world, and I would love to share to bring out bold leaders in the future. Thank you again for your time and energy. Have a great day.